Welcome, everyone. Get ready for Gnosis. This is Dr. Thor bringing you the only truth you're ever going to find. Well, let's cover one other thing as I kind of conclude my talks. I'm moving into a whole bunch of different directions here. And we really have to define what we do as people and how we take on this brave new world that we're facing here because, pretty much everything has changed to a degree and nothing has changed as it really never does. So we'll get into all that. And of course, I cover a lot of stuff in Patreon, which is where I can talk seriously and not in a place like this, which is highly censored. And of course, you allow that to happen. And we need legislation to stop all this, as well as companies like YouTube, eBay, Amazon treating people like garbage and destroying their lives when it's a cooperative business agreement, instead of the fact that they are the king because you're using their platform. But again, talking sense is not going to help anybody. But let's talk about this Mars issue here. And it's succinctly put as I've done my research as usual. I always find everything that needs to be known about any subject matter relatively quickly and get to the core of it. We all like to get caught up in the fun aspects of space travel. After all, it was in the 30s that we have the actual great shows out there. Buck Rogers. And all those things that came out that were spaceships. And this was quite the thing in the time. And by the way, was laughed at by Congress, who thought that it was just a comic book reality. We'd never make it in space. But moving past that, everybody had this, of course, adventure. For some reason or another, the mentally ill, perverted human species wants to leave everywhere that they're at and go to some place that has nothing. Very strange reality that we have. And instead of cleaning up our own planet, which we certainly can do, we have the technology, we just don't have the will. We have the money as well. Money is just doesn't make any sense. People talk about this. We have a large criminal organization enforcing what they consider entrapping people with bills and other things. When money is a fictitious understanding, it's created by governments and then, we back it, it's good. So all of this stuff doesn't make much sense. But let's talk about the issue, of course, of Mars, which is quite fascinating and appears to be a civilization, as Zachary Sitchin said in The 12th Planet. We may have come from there. That planet may have been destroyed and we moved over to this one. But this was a ready planet, very similar to Mars at the time. And who knows, billions of years ago? Who knows? Of course, civilization only started 2,000 years, 200,000 years ago when man came around. Yeah, this is, thank you, scientists. What other diarrhea mouth can you tell us? Thanks for your stink. So the whole idea is that when we look into all these things, let's get down to what is considered real science, at least as we know. And of course, we know science as we understand it as ape-like human beings living in an oxygen carbon-based reality of what we can live in. We can't live in the water, Dr. Thor. We're not fishes. We can't live in the sky. We don't have wings. That's right. And most of the Earth, which is covered by water, is uninhabitable. It serves a purpose, food, can't drink it though. But the whole idea is that, and most of the other planet, we have giant deserts. So the habitable aspects of planet Earth are pretty small. You certainly can't live on the top of Mount Everest. Maybe clean air there, whatever oxygen is at the top of that. But certainly there's not. There's a lot of bodies on Mount Everest they can't bring down because they can't do it. So the whole idea is that we have all these problems out there, yet we just don't deal with anything. What does this all? Now we're going to talk about the real meaning of all this on our Patreon page and everything else as we get into the more deeper aspects, all access membership, etc. And we're evolving right now into another final stage of the highest level of evolution that an organization and person can reach. We're getting all this information out as it should culminate by the end of this year, but we're going through massive changes right now to do everything on a much higher tech level, philosophically or belief-wise, and of course practically, because philosophy really should be something that's practical. So philosophy should be based in what works. I hate to use the term science because science doesn't work, because the people who follow science have decided to abandon what works and to go into what theories are. But that's for another talk. But let's get back to Mars. Now, the problem with Mars, and particularly the con artist, the biggest scammer of our century, people who worship the dumbest dung on the planet, otherwise known as Elon Musk. Elon Musk has never done anything, never had an idea, doesn't have any educational background, has done absolutely nothing. He has taken over a lot of companies and claimed it was his idea. His brother, the big financier and the big money guy connected to the Illuminati, so it appears, was able to rig the fact of getting into, quote, PayPal when it was an infant, and bought a large percentage of it to invest in it. And of course, people are always looking for investment money. When that actually happened, the board of directors at PayPal looked at Elon Musk and said, "You is retard. Get out of here." He couldn't add a column of numbers together or do anything. Knew nothing about any business whatsoever. And, of course, had money from very dubious sources. People paid him hundreds of millions of dollars for a website. Well, that's not the real story anyway. But I'm not going to go into fraudulent Elon and his nonsense as well. Mr. Failure, Mr. Contrived businesses that are just all nonsense. All of this stuff is the actual reality that we need to look at, though, because we have to understand that reality is all an illusion, not because of the fact that it is some sort of matrix illusion. It's an illusion perpetrated on you by people that want to take your money and keep you a slave. Now, let's talk about the planet Mars. That's very, very interesting, and there is lots of photographs of the planet Mars from the rovers, and all of these are highly changed, contaminated, etc. So they're going in there and taking all these pictures from the rovers up there, and they're changing it into making things distorted. But there are some people that went out there and changed some of this stuff, and certainly Mars has extremely unusual formations on there that are not naturally made, that look like an ancient civilization was there, from buildings to structures to everything else that seem to point in that direction, which I think is probably irrefutable. There was some great society there, and it appears, and there is one author or scientist or whatever you want to call him, Schmuck, who thinks that Mars was nuked, and we have all sorts of debris left there, as if we had our cities were abandoned now or even nuked. There would be lots of remnants of all sorts of stuff there. A lot of things just don't decay forever. Things like pottery that we dig up now, that we go back hundreds of thousands of years ago. Stuff like that just doesn't go anywhere. So we have to understand that there's an awful lot of things that are created by nature, but nature, which uses winds and other things, creates usually very specific types of shapes. Other man-made shapes cannot be created naturally. So we can look at the things on Mars, and there does definitely, I think there's no doubt that there was a previous civilization there. That civilization may have hopped into the universe or may have hopped to the Earth. We're not sure. Sitchin goes through a lot of that stuff, which is an interesting hypothesis, and like everything else in the world, it comes through his filtered, polluted mind, and we just can grasp at what is particularly the straw of truth, which few people can understand or interpret properly. So the bottom line is very, very simple with Mars. Mars does not have an atmosphere. You can't create an atmosphere on Mars. We have trouble creating atmospheres anywhere. We can't create an atmosphere or the gravity effect in our space stations. There's a lot of people who've claimed they're going to try and do this, but it's near impossible and would cost trillions of dollars to do. And that's one of the problems with doing anything in space, is the huge cost of it. Now, everybody says they don't have money for housing, they don't have money for medical, they don't have money to help people. There's always money for crooks, criminals, and the military, which are pretty much all the same thing, so that they are able to put together their nonsense. But it doesn't really help anyone. But let's get down to the fantasy reality that is fed to you all the time, particularly by those Goomba idiots like Elon Musk, who's really the con of all cons and has produced absolutely nothing. And of course, he's able to bluff his way through things using billions of dollars of other people's money, as Amazon used $6 billion to make Amazon what it is today, which wasn't his money, by undercutting the market, establishing Amazon as a book dealer, and then expanding from there. But not only did he invest a few million of his own and parents' money, but he took stockholders' money, which was the plan, to then create this basically fake business of what we have today. So, quite a fascinating business way of doing things. And of course, the old style idiot business people like Sears and Walmart and Kmart couldn't respond to it. And for that matter, even Walmart, which is really based in the old retail paradigm of understanding business. So as we move through all this stuff, what do we do and what do we understand of what's going on? Well, the point is that if you don't have an atmosphere, you can't do anything. If you don't have the soils, you can't grow foods and other things. Mars doesn't have the soil to grow in. It doesn't have an atmosphere. So you would have to live in some sort of box all the time. And I guess people have been preparing for this in their internet life of living in front of their screen and not doing much else, because that's where everything is going to. But of course, there's also a surge of people that want to go out into the wilderness by the hundreds of millions. And of course, the wilderness is taking a big impact because of this, because people escape their tiny little apartments, their tiny little cars, and want to get out into the great outdoors. But the bottom line is that all of the nonsense and the trillions of dollars that Musk wants to put in his own pocket and to make himself very rich and to use that money for basically comic book projects is a great fraud. Now, if you don't have a magnetic energy, now this is what surrounds the Earth, is create our atmosphere. We have this protective bubble around us created by the Earth itself that creates this magnetic field that stops the sun from destroying everything. If that magnetic field goes down, the sun's rays are very toxic and will destroy everything, as it is doing even to Mars. Now, Mars may not be all that warm, but it certainly is affected by the very strong sun energies, which burn everything in the atmosphere away because there is no protection there. So the bottom line is that since it has no atmosphere, you cannot produce your own atmosphere. The fantasies of people telling you that you can do that is impossible. It's a very difficult, super expensive thing to try and create something, then try and create, quote, greenhouse. People think that, well, you can create greenhouse gases and stuff, but it doesn't stay in the atmosphere. There is no atmosphere because there is no electromagnetic shield on the planet to keep whatever's inside the planet inside it, or in an atmospheric bubble. So the atmospheric bubble that you have to live in, and this, of course, is based in the 7.8 hertz and frequencies close to that, is what creates all life and allows things to grow, etc., including you surviving, creating oxygen, and all the things go with it. But the Martian soil, you can't grow much in anyway. So the bottom line is that what you've heard there of colonizing Mars so he can still steal trillions of dollars from you is a complete fraud. There's no way you can fix Mars, period. The technology isn't there. And even if it was, there's lots of technology that, quote, is available, or at least the scientists say that so they can get their next research grant. But the bottom line is that the cost is super prohibitive, and there's no guarantee that it'll work anyway. So since there is no atmosphere, there's no magnetic shield on Mars, there's no way of producing something that will stay there. So you produce a greenhouse effect, the toxic radioactive energies come in, blow all what you've created out of the no atmosphere, really, because it's not shielded, and you don't create anything. So I hope everybody understands that of what's going on and will stop buying into the fraud of this bozo, who people like to call the comic book hero Iron Man. He's nothing more than a poop man. He's selling you garbage that doesn't work. So understanding the reality of Mars is just there. And why would we go to a dead, stupid planet when we live in a paradise that we refuse to fix? Now, everything on the planet Earth can be fixed. It's very expensive to do it, but it certainly can be done. Going to Mars would cost, what's after trillions, quadrillions, gaboo-boo-boo-boos, monkey land money? The point is that we'd spend all this money giving it to the same industrial military complex people that make all this stuff. But of course, our rockets in space we've turned over to a record producer, Branson, a bookseller, Bezos, and of course, the bozo of all bozos, Elon Musk, who I don't know what he's known for. He has a degree, I believe, in economics. So he thinks he's an engineer. So the whole idea is that he's nothing and he has no background whatsoever. So let's say he's a car maker. So a car maker, a book dealer, and a record maker we've turned our entire future space program over to. This kind of unprofessional and stupid way of doing things, trying to privatize something that really ultimately costs more. Because when you do things government-wise, as much as government is, quote, is inefficient, it's much more efficient than regular business. Just like the Medicare program in the United States has a very low rate of administrative fees compared to the private sector. So it isn't the fact that government doesn't do anything right. Government is you. If it's not doing it right, you're not doing it right. And quite frankly, I found that most people are not doing anything in their own lives right. And of course, this reflects in our society. But Mars is a stupid waste of time that would cost trillions. With the Tinker Toy realities that they tell us we have, and of course we can speculate on stargates, on special interplanetary ships, which are claimed to have, which the head of Lockheed talked about at his retirement dinner. The gossip from so many contactees and government factors. We do know the government has anti-gravity. Could this be used to go to planets very quickly? But the point is that, it takes a long time to go to Mars. Months and months and months. You just don't pop there in a very toxic, radioactive environment. So you can't carry much there with the Tinker Toy stuff they claim is all we have. So we have to keep that in mind. And we have to keep in mind the reality of what's going on there. This is a stupid comic book dream that we need to trash. We need to figure out how to transport great housing to our empty cities, to cities and towns that are decaying. We need to build housing. We need to build hospitals. We need to build things that take care of the public that nobody cares. The psychotic, evil human race ignores this while living in a fantasy that you want to go to a dead, airless, freezing planet with nothing on it but dirt, red crap dirt that you can't grow much in. This kind of insanity is something that we all have to embrace as the way of the human race. And it will never, ever change, and this is what we are looking at. The entire world is a giant, horrible place. The people that you give money to, the Bezos, the Bransons, the Musks, are basically the epitome of the decadent, rotten, ignorant, low-level thinking that this society is all about. So let's get it clear. Mars is a dream, traveling to planets. It's a fantasy, I should say. And all of even planetary. We're not talking intergalactic, going to many places in space, is so far and so big that it is mind-boggling. And with our basically motorized running shoes of technology, we never can get anywhere. Even moving at the speed of light. Things are hundreds of light years away. That don't sound too far to me, Dr. Thor. It's only 100 light years. Well, dumb guy, your life expectancy is 79. So 100 light years would be you dead plus 30 years.
Well, I don't get that. Well, I'm not dead, am I?
Well, yes, you are. You spent your entire life in a little can traveling in space doing what? Well, of course, the whole idea is the fantasy that science fiction writers have done. Well, we'll put you to sleep in cryogenics or whatever. But it doesn't matter. 100 years of your life, you're living in a foreign place. What a mental great thing. We've already got a bunch of mental cases right now. And, of course, we'll get the guys building the crosses and the Islamis, and we'll have them with the rugs down there. And we'll be in space with all the mental cases and all the crap that goes on with these people. And that's what you're going to take into space. And, of course, You're going to leave your poo, your vomit, your piss all over the entire universe as we've done now. We've already left a bunch of trash in our orbit. We're leaving trash now on Mars, and we've got trash out into the galaxies with these probes we've sent out there. So, but the bottom line is, regardless of the littering reality of the scum human race, we still have the problem that it's hundreds of light years. If it takes 200 light years to do, people understand that? A light year is 1 human year moving at the speed of light, which we cannot do, we claim. And if we did, there are all sorts of physics problems. What happens to matter? What happens is still something that is debated. Now, and of course, you're going at these super fast speeds. What does it all mean? How many people want to give up their entire life, want to give up their Gucci shoes, their beach vacations, their fancy cars, and Malibu beach homes to go into space to do that? Well, if you want to do that, you are really dumb. Let's go to a gaseous ball of poison that's 1,000 degrees below zero because it's so far out.
Yeah, it's so fun looking at these planets.
Well, fine. The people that want to do that, I think we should put them on ships. And, of course, we should put Elon, Bezos, and Branson on these ships and shoot them out there and let them report back after 100 light years that is gone. So the point is that do you want that? And, of course, whatever reality is here on Earth, you're going to come back 200-300 years later. Can you imagine the difference? Go back 200 years from now and find out where we are. So the whole idea is, this goes back unbelievably different changes in society. So these are all the things we really have to understand as the bigger picture in the fantasy that we actually have with all of this. And people like Elon Musk, who wants to talk diarrhea mouth and produce absolutely nothing. This guy can't even produce a proper car, more or less building a society on Mars and thinking and telling people that we have to leave this planet now, all the things that go with it. So, well, maybe that's how you think when you're driven to school in a convertible Rolls Royce in South Africa. So the whole idea is that maybe that's the reality that you deal with. But the bottom line is this is all stupid fantasy while we neglect the things we really need to do here, make pure foods, cure diseases, live longer, take care of our housing needs, all the things that we ignore while everything else in this world goes to crazy. And it just never changes, and it never will. So give up that fantasy of Mars. If you think it was a nice concept, something out of a goofy Star Trek fantasy space soap opera that Star Trek was, is a joke. The point is, none of this makes sense. And of course, Star Wars was nothing more than a 1940s serial that was then contrived by the people who watched those into the kind of comic book reality that Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and all that other nonsense is. This is mental masturbation garbage that has no value for you whatsoever. But let's close the case on space in general. It's too expensive. The distances are unfathomable, and the tax of getting there with any kind of payload, meaning carrying anything with you to establish anything, is horrendously difficult. I mean, this even happened in, quote, ancient times when people discovered North America and so forth. When the Irish and the Vikings came over here, we had a little ship. And, of course, they brought what they needed. And, of course, in those days, you didn't need computers and cell phones and generating plants and jets and all the other things. But, they brought their cattle. They probably brought some tools, and you were able to get by. But even with that, colonies were very difficult to establish, and there were hostility problems, as most people didn't like the fact that you parked your bottom on their planet. On their space, I should say, on their country. So most of what appears to happen with a lot of settlements is that the natives of that area, the North Americans, whoever they were, didn't particularly like you coming there, and they killed them all. So that's what the Indian populations of most countries did. And of course, this can be debatable whether that's proper or not. But the point is that that's what we're talking about. You can't bring all that you need, and you can't certainly, if you go to places like Mars, you have to bring everything you need to grow there. And because it's going to take 8 or 9 months to get products over there of a tiny amount, and you can't deliver a giant truck worth of stuff. You basically can deliver what would be a briefcase of stuff, and it'll cost you $1 trillion. So all of this, we need to get these fantasies out. It's a waste of our time thinking about space and so many other these fantasies. Who cares what advanced technologies are? Work in your own life. You need to heal yourself. You need to manifest what you need in life. And of course, that's what Radionic Tech does. We supply these technologies to you so you can handle your basic life. But worrying about these other things, or even studying them or thinking about them, which is something that I've spent a lot of time on myself, and I found it fascinating to a degree. But you have limited energy. You have very limited time. And if you're younger, you think you have a lot of time. But if you're wasting your time studying what are basically dry, hold, stinky stupidity that will get you nowhere in life, then you have that problem. Now, once you study things like manifesting technologies, oftentimes called radionic type energies, you're learning how to take care of your life and how to build a life that will support and help you and others. There is no other things. Don't waste your time with all these things. Research the things that are important. Everything we're going to confront in life is going to be a physical battle ultimately. You're going to be mentally traumatized. You're going to know people or yourself will go through horrible illnesses that you may or may not survive. In this day and age, you're not likely to survive. We may have pandemics and other things. What do you know to do that? What, you're going to wear masks and gloves and this is going to protect you? Dream on, Napoleon. So the whole idea is that all these things are pretty much something that we have to discard as worthless, mind-robbing, energy-robbing nonsense that they want to get you involved in. Spend time where it's important. Figure out there are so many financial opportunities out there right now that are on the web that you can do anywhere on the planet, allowing you to live in better places, less hostile places, better climate places, where you don't have to be tied down to some nonsense job. So all of these things are now available, and they've never been available before that. Now they are available, and this new generation, that's the one thing that you have in your favor. You weren't able to do this even 25, 30 years ago. You didn't have the kind of services and way of doing things. People are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year by reselling stuff from the Goodwill. It's mind-screwing. Are you working a stupid minimum wage job? Well, these jobs should go. And the recent changes with retail and everything else are very positive. These things should not exist. You should order what you need online and be brought to your house. You don't need to drive to a big store. Those big stores should be turned into shipping warehouses. It's moving that way. Those low-paid, crappy jobs is going that way. Society is just going to go in and steal stuff because we have no law and order whatsoever. Because of your law and order, people are just criminals that wear badges. Nothing new. It's going back 100 years at least. So all of this is what's happening, and all of this is what we need to look at in our lives to understand the actual impact of what all these things are happening. So we are moving very interestingly in positive, good directions as we eliminate sectors of society that we want to have as inexpensive as possible, meaning consumer goods, whether it's food or other things. Why pay overhead people, products, etc.? Let's mechanize it so that we can actually get cheaper prices. But of course, don't be under the illusion that because things cost less, that cost less price will be passed on to you. No, it goes to the rich guy. Remember that. So everything is an illusion yet again. So we need to get into those areas. You need to be studying not what's happening, not who built the pyramids, what are the fascinating esoteric realities of ancient societies and religions. We need to be studying what we have now. Everything we have now is huge, gargantuan amounts of information that you have to go through and cherry pick out what is applicable to your life. Do you have a manifesting system that you know how to use? Do you have healing systems that you know how to use? all of this is critical to your life. Whether the ancients came here and built the pyramids and all the other garbage you've been told, has nothing. It's nothing more than mental masturbation. It's a titillating, interesting information for momentary and does you no value for any period of time whatsoever. So, and the whole idea is people waste their time. They do things like go watching sports games for hours and hours. They do stupid things that do nothing for them. Skiing, parachuting, whatever it is, rock climbing. Stupid, idiot, dangerous sports for the lowest level of humanity. When you should be learning something, learn how to tap into energies, learn how to, and this is all fun stuff you can do. Go to a seminar on your chakras. Don't go to a ski resort where people run into trees because you're going down a hill and you can't steer yourself. All of this stuff is exactly what's going on to the bigger picture. We have to understand all these things that go with this, and we have to make sure that we take care of the things in life. You want to learn how to do things? Learn how to use weapons. Learn how to fight. Learn martial arts, and learn every variance of it. Be an expert shot. Be able to shoot something a half a mile away with a perfection weapon that you can. These are things you can use in life. So make sure you know how to do that. Make sure you figure out how to group together with others of similar mentalities to actually do things. So the bottom line is that we all have to take this into consideration as the bigger picture of what has value. So stop wasting your time thinking about what does colonizing Mars has anything to do with you or anything else. You really want to live in a bubbly little place. And of course, they're conditioning you to do this because everybody's living in a tiny little room because they can't afford anything else, being stuck in front of a little monitor, kind of like being in a Mars capsule or a Mars station that would be on the planet, living in a little metal box relating to very crappy consciousness factors of having to deal with. So all of this is part of the reality out there that we have. So let's move into that. And as things go, the number one reality that you have to deal with is find a way without being a slave to make money. You have to also figure out how you handle, and ultimately manifesting science is about handling the life force. The ultimate thing that you can achieve in life is being able to create life, empower the life force, get rid of negativity, meaning healing and growing to higher levels of physical empowerment, and of course, having the ability to snuff out life force as well. These are the things that are critical in your life and your reality that you need to spend your time. And we need to move away from these bozos. But I hear the same thing over and over again from these losers who follow people like the complete con artist, Billy Myers, the extraterrestrial claiming to contact, but has really nothing but goofy little pictures. People who follow stupid bozos like Elon Musk, who achieved absolutely nothing, that has been proven to put on basically comic book displays of robots and other things. He's produced absolutely nothing whatsoever. And his garbage cars he makes, that will be in the trash heaps in another 5 years that nobody will want. So all of these things we need to move away from. We don't need these things. We have everything. And the reason why we don't have more advanced technologies and free energy is because of corruption. Again, this gets back to the low level of human reality, that instead of building hospitals and housing, we build nuclear weapons and battleships, and these produce nothing but keep the same evil system going. Build a strong international population of people who are happy, who are healthy, and who have a decent income, and you will have no wars whatsoever. It's not complicated, but it is complicated because you support, as the average person out there, criminal, corrupt people on every single level, and it's your fault, not government. So we need to keep that in mind. But if you buy into all this stuff, if you're buying books on ancient aliens, if you're buying books on contact, if you're all this stuff, well, as I've covered in my previous YouTube videos, all of these people who are, quote, contactees have produced zero. None of them have produced anything. So, as I just reviewed Billy Meyer's website yet again, the only practical thing he has up there is brown seaweed that one of his followers claims is good for you, and they sell that. So they think you as the great curing from the great aliens in space. Well, your seaweed we like to chomp on because it gives us, it's a turn on. This is what they recommend. So, get out there and buy your brown seaweed, everyone, from the polluted oceans and enjoy optimum health. That's what you get from Billy Myers. The rest of it is his personal psychotic belief that he is some sort of god or a prophet that knows something is comical. This guy has done nothing. All the other contactees have done nothing. They have absolutely not. I'm a great healer. I can heal people and stick my hands in their body. You did nothing and you died young. All of them have done it. And this is the reality. So we have to look at the picture that nobody wants to talk about. Because the bottom line is everybody talks about happy talk. And that's what people want to see on YouTube. Never say something that isn't happy. So the whole idea is that's the reality we have. So we've got absolutely nothing from it. Space is a big, dark, hostile, non-oxygen, freezing, horrible environment that will never do anything of any value to us. Period. We are living in a paradise. Let's build places under the ocean. Let's build stuff in the sky, in our atmosphere. Let's build stuff everywhere. Let's take care of everybody and get things going properly so people have no reason to murder and so that they can survive. So we need to move past this, and we need to have ultimate justice. And the fact is all these people who have done horrible things, which we never bring to justice, like we haven't done from the past 2 world wars, the Japanese, the Germans who should have been hanged. There should be no society whatsoever. Those names shouldn't even be known now. We need to give justice to all of these scum that have done their things for decades. And handle these things more than decades, for hundreds of years, and we need to give justice to that and move on into the higher realities. As long as this scum is living and controlling our ecological society, our economical society, I should say, the economies of the world, we're never going to get anywhere. So we have lots of things to handle here and now. It's about time we deal with that. And it's about time we understand the fraud of building so-called environments and creating greenhouse effects on a planet that doesn't have a contained atmosphere. It's just a giant wind. You're not going to put anything in the wind that's going to stay in your environment. No matter how much you pump something into a wind that is blowing on you, the wind will take it away. And that, to be putting it in a very simplistic manner, is what happens with Mars. So why should we spend trillions of dollars when that could easily clean everything up on the earth, give everybody a great standard of living, a great house, and we could all heal each other and live to really what has value, to live long, but not live long so you can take care of your kitties and all the other things like the low-level scum out there talk about, but to grow to a higher consciousness person and then evolve past this kind of primitive physical reality. That's the bottom line. I hope everybody gets it. Until next time.